I am so happy to have this strong panel here today. And I would like to just introduce our panelists. And it's Frank Lindhøj from ScanOffice. Yep. And it's Henrik Taudorf Lorensen from TAKT. And it's Maria Wehlers from Wehlers. And then we have, last but not least, Henrik Marstrand from Meta Design. Good, and we will start up. We all know that this circular economy is getting more and more attention, not only in Denmark, but around the world. How do we work with circular economy? Why is circular economy important? And it's all about all our resources to take care of them and keep them in our economy as long as possible. And having the used material, use them as a renewal resources. And to keep them out of the landfill and not to burn them, as we like to do in Denmark. But we also have Danish design, which is quite known worldwide, and we also would like to touch upon these, when you work with the circular business model, does it affect the aesthetics of the products? Do we have to compromise? And lastly, but not least, we will look a little bit into the future and ask you on your circular economy business model. How do you see that evolve in the future, and is there a demand that's driving you to do even better? I don't know if you can, but we like to touch upon it. But firstly, let us just ask you all in the panel, what circular business model do you use today, and has it been any difficulties, or why have you even started this green transition? Frank, would you like to start?
Well, it's a long question, isn't it all? A big one. Anyway, yeah, we are working with circular economy as a business model, but we started up actually like what we call TCO, or total cost of ownership. It started on the backside of the financial crisis, where we saw that our clients were looking more about the initial buying price of products more than what the cost was of owning a product in its entire lifespan. And it comes quite natural that circular economy is a part of that, really, because this is not only about products, but it's also about owning. It's about the buying process. It's about the solution, the way to find the right solution, and so on. So it's a quite big question, really. So for us, it's in the end of the day common sense to work in that way that we're doing today. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, and would you like to continue?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we started TAKT, I think we launched a little more than 1.5 years ago, and I think the background for doing that were two things. One of them was sustainability, and we thought there was a need to start from scratch, and I think the background for that, I think we saw, which you still do, as in a lot of manufacturers coming out and claiming sustainability, and they just taken one piece and put it on a nice piece of fabric with some reused wool, and that's it. And I think the really important, well, I think there's two elements of it. There's one thing working with the materials. Another one is working on how people are actually using the products and how we can actually support the extended lifetime of products, make sure they keep on being cyclical in nature. And we thought we needed to start from scratch with designing products that were done like that from the start. So I can talk a lot about component-based design, when the point of being able to replace components when they've broken. You can separate them when you want to recycle them in the end. All these elements we built into new products from the start. So this benefit of being a new company is not a transition. It was simply the starting point from us when we made the company.
So the circular business model you're actually representing is the one that you can repair it and you can keep it in the loop for a very long time because you can exchange parts and so on.
Yes, I mean, so it's the idea is to support circular use. Yeah. And business models is then one element of it, and we will be coming out with interesting business models on top of this. But the basic thing is we're sending products out now in the world that inherently are designed to be able to be updated, recycled, and repaired indefinitely. Mm-hmm. And we are supplying all the components you can buy as spare parts for us. And on top of that, you can put all kinds of business models, rent, leasing, take back, whatever. And we are going to introduce that over the next couple of years. But the point is, we don't have to be embarrassed by what we're doing now until we have it. The products that are coming out now are born to be able to support that type of business model as well.
Wow, so next time I can only have you on the panel, you will have all the business models. Great. Maria, would you like to continue?
Yes, thank you. We founded Wehlers back in 2017 and hit the market with a brand portfolio with Danish design furniture with a very high content of reused materials. Everybody claimed it worked with quality and design. We do that as well, but we add this third leg, which is circular economy in its full circle, which means that we have designed an ecosystem that helps our customers, our designers, our manufacturers so we take back our furniture at their end of life. So we work with quality, we work with design for disassembly, and we work with reused material, but we are very focused on choosing the materials that we work with because we get it back. For instance, when we upholster a chair, we don't use glue because we can't take it apart and we can't take it back and recycle it into new design furniture.
And you're also quite one of the first movement of having these reused resources done into your chairs. So you're kind of one of the first movers.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
When we hit the market back in 2017 and I entered a retailer and I said, I have a sustainable chair which is called bæredygtig stol in Danish. And he said, oh, is it easy to carry? No, it wasn't really what I meant, but maybe.
Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you. Henrik from Mata, yeah?
Yeah, when we started Mata back in 2006, actually, with the philosophy of making something else, not just a design product, but products with many different ethics or sustainability built into it from scratch. And back then, nobody really understood what sustainability was. And today we speak about circular economy, which is, let's say, the next level of reaching a deeper purpose about setting anything into production. We've learned our lessons through the years, certifications, working with waste, experimenting with different business models, and the future is super bright, we think. There's a lot of initiatives coming from different angles with different concepts. We are very focused on waste these days and waste streams, engaging with large Danish corporations and understanding their type of waste and how it becomes a product. This is why I always carry this. I sleep with it. This is a waste stream, upcycled seat made from Novo Nordisk insulin pen waste and BKI coffee grinds. It's a composite material that we've developed since 2.5 years. Cost a lot of money and all that, but this is some of the values that we put into, let's say, the new business models. And engaging with large corporation and understanding processing of waste enables us to take products back, process it again, and process it again, up to 3 times. So it's about thinking what the next level should be. Products we launch these days are designed for disassembly, meaning that you easily must be able to disassemble all components, and we will take care of what we are capable of. So I think the world is changing toward understanding what we as a Danish design brand, with all these different perspectives that we all represent, what we can offer in a global economy. Because change means scale. And scalability and mass production is the way that we can suck up some of the, let's say, bad behavior we've had as consumers during the years. We see waste as a value. It's a source of opportunity. It's a source of creating further profit, and first and foremost also Danish jobs. So the way a business model, it encapsulates a lot of different aspects. Jobs, what is next level Danish design? How do we market that abroad? And we are highly dependent on export, even though we sit in this COVID situation where the world is a little bit different. But we feel we have something to offer each and every of us, and that I think is the key business opportunities that we're looking at the moment.
That's great, because that was my next question, because I don't think all of you touched that why. And also, Frank, I just want to ask you again with your business model, because you are kind of an office furniture provider, right?
Yep.
And so what I could understand from your material, you are actually having a leasing model.
Yeah.
So people don't have to buy the things. They're buying like a subscription or like a leasing model where you come and repair it, and they don't have to own anything. They don't have to get the money out of the pocket in the first time.
That could be one issue that you could do like that. But also it has to do with, there's a lot of companies that is, where activity is in different kinds of seasons. So if you have a company that needs, let's say, 200 employees when there's a high season, perhaps they only need 100 ones when they have low season. So how to do that is to take back furniture and then put them out there again. So there's a lot of different models that you can use in order to make value for your clients in the end of the day. And as you're saying, Henrik, I mean, furniture can be used in so many different ways. So it's not, we don't need to think as a product as it always has to be new just because I'm sitting at it. I mean, it can be reused, or it could be second-hand. So we have a second-hand business as well, where we use that as a buffer, you can say, to help company go through the high seasons and low seasons as well. So that's a way to do that. Lease, rent, whatever you can do, that's a way to finance the solution that each company is in.
Yeah,
someone wants to buy, and someone wants to do the opposite.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's somebody said this whole sharing economy. We just have seen the tip of the iceberg. It's going to be like the young people in that generation. They're not going to own anything. They're just having access to.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to train and might expand. But also, Henrik, because I wanted to ask you from TAKT, that you are a totally new company coming, and you are not even having a history from the furniture industry. And why did you choose to go that way, making a new product line, a new brand and everything?
Yeah, so my background, I come from Bangalore, where we started B&O Play back then, and then previously with Lego, doing Lego video games and what have you. So it's a slightly different thing. But I think I was just personally, together with my co-founders, interested in sustainability, and I thought that furniture was also an interesting area to experiment with new ways of using and consuming stuff as a user, because it has a very long lifetime intrinsically, right? So compared to other fast-moving consumer goods where you buy stuff and throw them out all the time, here's actually an opportunity to work with something that people live with for a long time. So it is sort of inherent in design and furniture that you want to extend the lifetime of that. So that's why I thought.
And what do your investors say when you came with that idea?
Sorry?
When you came to I don't know if you have investment or your stakeholders, when you came with that idea, did they think, oh yes, that's what we need in the furniture industry?
Yeah.
The short answer.
Yeah. No, I think there's something when you create a business, and also back to your question about transformation, right? And coming from an older company, right, is suddenly CSR and sustainability becomes sort of a clash with what you're doing already. And I thought it was interesting to create a company that didn't have internal conflict. So fundamentally, what you're doing is the right thing, and if we grow and we scale, whatever, it's better. So we don't have to sort of always be in conflict with us, and there's no CSR director sort of has to push us to do something different. I thought that was quite interesting, and probably I'm supported by other people thought that was the right thing.
And also when Wehlers was one of the first movers on this reuse material products, what did people say the first time you told them that was your product line? Was it like, okay, is it going to smell, or what was it?
No, it was actually quite welcome. But the most important thing for us was also that we did design furniture that was made out of reused material, not necessarily something that you could see. So you would buy a brand new product, but with reused materials. Because who wants a coffee table with Coca-Cola bottles as legs? It's a funny thing for a period of time, but then again, it's a trend that goes rapidly out.
Yeah.
And also we established Wehlers because we saw a gap in the market. we didn't necessarily think that we needed any more design furniture, but we needed a sustainable choice for the conscious consumers who wanted something different.
So you actually, and also I'm asking the whole panel, you kind of felt there was a market need that needed to be fulfilled.
Yeah.
And you could see that already there. So can you feel that in your sales? Is it selling well?
It's always the challenge when we talk about market need, because there's an element of saying what you want to change and offer something and help drive that change, and then just waiting until the market is there. And I think when we talk about circular business model, I think in the contract market there's a bigger need, or perhaps a perception, I guess, around leasing and these things. I don't think that's present yet for consumers, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be pushing that opportunity and see where. And then once you've created the delightful opportunities in the market, I think hopefully the consumers will then come to it, and we can build the market around it.
So it's going to be licensed to operate in the future.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But you could also see it as may the best story win, right? See, I'm also, like you, have a background in consumer products and marketing and international understanding of needs. And we see also these new things coming out as stories. How do you communicate that story? How do you not over-sophisticate it and get it clear-cut? What is it that you actually are buying? Because I don't think there was a need actually for people just haunting for sustainable products. Many spoke about it, but few took actions. And I think that our business is capable through design, through aesthetics, to incorporate these values into the product that we are launching without any aesthetical compromise. The materials we are developing should be fantastic, innovative for an architect to specify at a project for what it's worth. Behind the scenes, there's a lot of work, there's a lot of good stories. It means a lot to the company philosophy, the way that you keep your employees not running away and just taking the next job. There's a lot of values inherent in that, but I think it's been a super slow start getting here. Clearly, the last 2 years, the expectations also from governmental and regulations, but also people understand what we need to change in order to make a change. And me as an individual, being a parent, I can do this much. Working with larger corporations, larger wholesale groups, they can do this much. So understanding scale and trying to develop custom-made solution together with these partnerships is key to making those changes, because we want to move some waste. Honestly, we can see that will change the perspective of it. But people also need to understand this is business. We are partly owned by a venture capital fund, and this is not fun if you miss a month sale and all that. So philanthropy is not something that we can afford at all. But it means a lot internally on how we work and how we develop and how we interact with designers and new materials. But this is ice cold business. Waste has a low value. So the raw material is quite cheap.
So that means that the raw material is cheaper if you use waste, and you have easy access to good people who they like to work a place where
but
they
the
can see
implications for us as a brand is that we need to be much more service-oriented in how to pick up waste, how to clean it, how to separate it, and how to put it back into furniture. And that is what we work behind the lines with doing and trying to be capable of, providing that service, not just the product itself. So it's more of a supply chain circular thinking that we need to offer in order to get this moving. At least that's our take on it.
Because Danish design is known all over the world. And of course, we don't want to send products out in the world. We say, oh, they're green, they're circular, but people think, okay, but where is the design? I know, Frank, you are the one who is distributing all these products and want to do well. Do you see any lack of aesthetics in the products range than when they are circular?
I think we saw that in the beginning, really. But then it was quite new. It was a movement going on, and we needed to find where to stand at. But now, often you can see very, very good green products standing next to products that are not that green, and you can really not see that big a difference. So today we can make very good design products with high aesthetics, I think, and clients actually are saying that themselves. And sometimes it's even a design value that you can see that is coming from some kind of waste of some kind.
I think it's always an interesting discussion about aesthetics, and also when you look back at Danish design history, I think everything that happened mid-century was driven by the industrialization, and now we think about it being craftsmanship and what kind of people standing there doing things. But I think the whole movement, the whole concept of a designer requires someone to be able to produce this in more than one, right? So I think that whole movement was driven by a new change, a new frame around what you can do, and I think that's what's happening now. In the next couple of years, I think this will just be a constraint about how you design a product. That it needs to have certain things, and it will be an interesting challenge for designers to find interesting solutions around
and
this.
And we know that the design schools here in Denmark, they take it very seriously. Yeah.
So
all the designers coming out, they will never. It will be just one of the basic things they will have in their mind when they're designing new products.
It's going to be a gift for the design, because then we can look forward rather than looking backward and trying to replicate what others did previously.
Yeah, Maria, what do you think?
Yeah, also when you work with circular economy and the reuse of materials, it's also important to have in mind that you're not producing an end product, but you are actually producing a material that keeps in the loop, that you keep in the loop constantly. Because since 1972, when we saw pictures of the Earth from outer space, we saw that there's no tube going to the Earth. So we have what's here, and we really need to use our waste, all of it, and not just see it as waste, but see it as resources.
If I can ask another question, is when we saw you were one of the first movers in this area, and your first chair, have you changed the design? You're saying like, okay, we had this first chair, and we had all the right things about reused material. It could be reused again in new cycles and everything. Yeah. Did you redesign it a bit going on?
Yeah, constantly. Mm-hmm. We are constantly improving what we do, because material and options change rapidly. Mm. For instance, with the paint for our steel, we are still not there. It's still not good enough, but we are working on it. So we are constantly changing what we do. Mm-hmm.
Well, but just a comment on that, because it also gets back to the carbon footprint that you actually have on a product. And we are simulating actually some beta models with some external fantastic startups that are trying to measure the actual carbon footprint on putting new products into production. And analysis shows that, coming back to your point on what paint do we use, one of the most essential levers in a life cycle assessment of a product is durability. Yeah. It's the content of what we put in, and it's the durability or the lastability of a product. So it doesn't make any sense to say, no, we're not producing that here because the paint is not there yet. The thing is to keep pushing, but also it's an old Danish design heritage that we speak about timelessness, but timelessness must still, or is still a very, very, very essential value in the products we bring to the market.
Yes, but we also have to look at the fact, to be sustainable, does it sell? You know, because we can sit and say we do all these needy small details, but is there demand, or is it just a little Denmark now that we have all these hippies, consumers, we want to be green, or do you find it demand overseas, international markets? I know we talked about it's a little bit hard now with the corona crisis going on, but it's something like, because when I speak to the representative from the foreign ministry, and I say, okay, we have these Danish fantastic designs, and now we have another layer, we have this circular economy. Oh, great, we've been waiting for a new relaunch of the Danish design, because everybody is going to love Danish design, but now we also have somebody who's working with the heart into making sure that we do the best we can for this lack of resources. Yeah. Do you see? Do you get a lot of attention from overseas as well? Yeah.
Yes. Now we're just 1.5 years in the market, right? So
but still,
we're still expanding. But I think it's a massive opportunity for Denmark, and that's why I like this panel discussion, because it's not about who is going to buy a Mater chair, a Wehlers chair, right? It's more about coming out to the world. Yeah. And I think my sense that the reason Danish design is so beloved internationally is not just because of the actual drawings, it's actually because of the thinking and the mindset that goes into it. And when you have international visitors coming to Denmark, half of it is actually just a way of organizing the society. I think so. When people see an Arne Jacobsen chair, they put all that love into that one shape of a 7 chair. And I think the approach to sustainability and circular, there's so much goodwill and the heart in the right place in this. So if that becomes something we add to the mix of what Danish design is, I think it will only be a huge opportunity for us.
If you look at the C20 top companies here in Denmark, they all have to report an environmentally balance sheet. And that has, you have to, let's say, document your carbon footprint. And if you come with solutions to them where you actually capture carbon in the products that they use internally, you help them achieve their financial and triangle goals. And we need to understand this as a business, because it's not just about the aesthetic of something, it's about a joint understanding where the impact is.
At least we talk about startup companies, right, and capital. I think typically when you go for funding, it goes to different cycles of how you can get money, right? You can start with your own money, and then you can go and ask for someone else that has a lot of money. So those are angel investors and those types, and then you go to VCs. They are sort of other people that are managing other people's money, right? And then in the end there's private equity, and then there's the stock market. And I think those dynamics will actually change over the next couple of years. But I think especially when you look at sort of the venture capital area, it's like the first time you hit people that are managing other people's money. They're typically benchmarked against sort of very high growth rate technology companies, software companies, which they demand super high growth rates in the market. And it sometimes, and I think also back to your comment, Henrik, right? Sometimes, depending on who you get in, of course, as a venture capitalist, but sometimes it can limit your ability to actually maneuver and find the right solutions in the space. So I think you've got to be pretty careful about who you're bringing in as investors, because you might end up in a situation where two years down the line, just keep on hammering on the business model you sold them on. But it actually turns out, well, it has to change a bit, and they just need to exit 2 years from now and get a huge return on their investment. Yeah. So I think that area will actually will change into someone, hopefully in situations where people will have a longer expectations on returns, and thereby also a different dialogue between the people who really have the money and the guys that are managing the money for them. Yeah.
Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, we have chosen not to still. So we are still a small family-owned business. Also because we are quite small compared to the rest here, but also because we also want to have proof of concept before we actually go into. And we have used funding, InnoBooster, for instance, to develop the molding of the fishing net, for instance. So it is possible to be price competitive, even though it's still...
You don't have investors in.
We still don't have investors yet.
Yeah, good.
No.
Yeah, nice to know if there's any entrepreneurs here. There's different ways to go.
Yeah, many different ways.
Where do you think we are on the circular economy agenda in 5 years' time? Frank, I know you have some visions.
We will sell a lot more. Even though that there's a lot of public contracts being negotiated at the moment, then we see there's a part of those contracts that are today are more environmental friendly than they were the past ones that we have just were leaving at the moment. And now there are, let's say, 10%, 5-10% of the contracts now that are more environmental friendly. But we actually believe, and when talking to municipalities, you just mentioned one before, we see that the need of doing things like that are much higher than what the contract actually fulfills. So we believe that we're only in the start of it. I think it will go very fast from here.
Great.
Yep.
That just sounds good for us. We love it. Yeah. What do you think, Henrik?
There's this saying about innovation that it typically takes longer than you think, but the impact is bigger. So we're probably going to say something that is actually going to take 10 years, but actually going to be much more substantial than we thought about. I think in 5 years, at least my hope is that actually leasing models and rent models will have been much more prevalent, and consumers have gotten used to it. And I think that would be an acceleration for circular economy, because suddenly basically when leasing a product, you're paying the difference between the initial cost of the product and what the remaining cost of the product is, or value of the product is. And if you have a good circular economy and good ways of recycling these things, the remaining value of the product is higher. So thereby there's an opportunity actually for the acquisition for consumers to buy circular products will be much, much lower. And thereby everything has been solved by itself. So I think that would be the direction.
Wow, we love it. Great.